Hi, today's date is Tuesday, April 20th. I'm coming to you a few days after I put out a bulletin telling about, what potential topics I would talk about on YouTube. First one was about a breakthrough that I experienced during group this past Monday. And the second possibility was talking about topics that have been generated by the viewership. So uh, I'd look out for that coming up. You might want to get started on, you know, thinking about what I should possibly do for videos. It could range from, I don't know, talking about something, uh, sort of like, I don't know, an expository thing about something or other, just so I can practice, talking would be very helpful. Uh, I'd be up for anything. And anyway, uh, on to what I'm making this video for. And that's to cover, what I experienced at my group therapy the other week. Just to start off, I just want to say that we got 2 new members to the group. So the group has expanded from a total of 4 to 6. New man and a new woman have joined. Without giving away too much, the new man there seems to share a lot in common with me, and I'm looking forward to future conversations, that we might have, and, sharing our experiences. And so, just want to start this off with, so obviously the new members come and, they introduce themselves and everything, just the way it was when I first joined, so I could know who these people are that I'm going to be talking to. And, eventually the session got around to, what happened to me the previous session. What was the cause of my lapsing into, a silent state. And I went on to explain, that certain group member, had complimented me about how I'm smart and that I'm an honest person. And, I explained that, I hear a compliment like that, and suddenly it's, so now he thinks I'm that way. So how do I know that the next thing that comes out of my mouth doesn't totally discredit, what he said about me? He said I'm smart, so imagine I end up, saying something that makes me sound like a total fool. Or, I mistakenly say something that wasn't true. And, assume he finds out later that I, lied to him about it. I mean, that would just totally discredit those compliments. So then, the group leader eventually sort of tries me to admit to him that I think people, according to me, are a bunch of you know, BSers. And, you know, I say, you know, I agree with you about that. You know, I really think that that is the case. That is, you know, that is the ultimate truth, you know, to me, that these people aren't being honest with me, that it's just a way for them to get on my good side, and, you know, maybe it's just being done because they feel sorry for me that they can't say anything nice, you know, and you just got, it's like pulling it out of a hat. So, you know, the guy who originally made the compliment, he finally told me that he felt like I was insulting him for, you know, questioning his motive. And, you know, I said, I don't think it's an insult. I think it's a fact. It's just, I don't think you're being honest. So, you know, eventually the group leader, he says, you know, anything, uh,
session. So, you know, then it kind of gets into, so do you feel like anyone here is, you know, pressuring you more than anyone else into speaking? You know, maybe when you're being silent, you feel like someone's looking at you and, you know, expecting you to say something. And I said, yeah, you know, it's that very guy who was calling me stubborn. Um, because I don't remember, I don't, okay, I didn't mention that, but, you know, he mentioned to me that he thought I was stubborn. And, you know, I told him that I feel like you pressure me into talking, and I don't like that. You know, the group leader goes on to say, That's a real breakthrough for you today. You know, and, you know, there are other group members, you know, they side with that and say, you know, yeah, we think uh, that was a real breakthrough for you to, you know, stand up to that guy and let him, you know, walk over you, or, you know, just tell you things that you don't think are the truth. And, you know, it was a real change of feeling for me. It was something I had never felt in my entire life. It was a sense of pride about standing up to someone and not, you know, letting myself be walked over. Um, you know, when I was on the schoolyard and I was getting bullied every day, and it was something that I had never done. I had never previously, you know, expressed my displeasure with someone, and, and showed a side that I had only previously shown to, you know, members of my own family. Like, when I was getting picked on in school, I took out all that anger on my grandmother, you know, who, she had nothing to do with, you know, what was going on in the schoolyard, but I had come to a realization that I had been taking my anger out on the wrong people the whole time. And, you know, the new female member, turns out she's a therapist, and, She said that she noticed that when I had stood up to this guy, that, my posture was changed. It looked like I was sitting high and mighty and looked proud, and a real change came over me at that moment.